Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my channel Internal Audit Lab by Noshin. Today I will discuss two important topics of CI part 1 which are basically in the domain 1 and the topics are purpose, authority, responsibility and internal audit charter. Since these two topics are very much interrelated, that's why I picked up this topic to discuss together. Purpose, authority, responsibility will be tested in proficient aspect and internal audit charter will be tested in the basic aspect. So basic aspect, you know that the topic will be tested where your memorization is needed, and when proficiency aspect is tested, then your memorization is not only sufficient, you need to have the capabilities of evaluation, synthesis, analysis. So let's start the video. We know that standard has basically two parts, that is attribute and performance. Attribute standards start with 1000 and performance standards start with 2000. So what attribute standard 1000 is saying? It is basically covering the purpose, authority, responsibility of internal audit activity. The first thing is the purpose, authority, responsibility of internal activity must be formally defined in an internal audit charter. Where it should be defined? In an internal audit charter. Secondly, the chief audit executive has to periodically review the internal audit charter, present it to senior management and board for approval. So not only preparation is sufficient, this has to be, that means this internal audit charter has to be reviewed on periodic basis and it needs to be approved by senior management and the board. Whenever the charter is prepared, it has to recognize the mandatory elements of the IPPF, which are basically the core principle, code of ethics, standard, and the definition. And this charter must be consistent with the mission of internal audit. Now, what is the interpretation of the attribute standard? The internal audit charter is basically a formal document which defines the internal audit activities, purpose, authority, and responsibility. This charter basically establishes the internal audit activities position within the organization. Charter authorizes the access to records, personnel, and physical properties relevant to the performance of engagement. So whenever we do the audit, when we approach the clients and want any document for as a purpose of evidence or purpose of review, if the client declines to give us this document and say that we do not have access to this document, then we can show him or her the charter that this charter authorizes my access to any type of record or documents. And the charter defines the scope of internal audit activities. So whatever the type of audit activities will be performed, it is defined in the internal audit charter. So what implementation standard says about this purpose, authority, responsibility and the internal audit charter? We know that implementation standard is basically the extended version of attribute standard and performance standard, where A denotes the assurance engagement and C denotes the consulting engagement. So the implementation standards basically says that the nature of assurance and consulting services must be defined in the internal audit charter, and if any assurance engagement are to be performed to the parties outside the organization, the nature of this assurance must be defined in the internal audit charter. Some important points to remember about internal audit charter. This charter has to be written by the chief audit executive or the head of internal audit, which we commonly know that. This charter needs to be approved first by the senior management and then by the board or audit committee. The charter needs to be communicated to the engagement client, and this charter needs to be reviewed periodically by chief audit executive to ascertain that it is relevant and appropriate. So whatever the type of activity is performed by the internal audit department, if any significant change comes to those activities, that must be agreed with the audit committee and that changes must be made to the charter. And charter provides the organization a blueprint of how internal audit will operate. Now, what are the components of internal audit charter? If you go to the website of Institute of Internal Auditor, or if you search in Google about the model internal audit charter, you can see a demo of internal audit charter, and if you go through it, you will get an idea about how a charter looks like. Now, what are the components that actually needs to be there in the internal audit charter? Mission and purpose. So mission and purpose related statement must need to be mentioned in the charter. We already know what is the mission of internal audit, which is to enhance and protect organizational value by providing risk-based and objective assurance advice insight, and the purpose is to provide independent objective assurance consulting services designed to add value and improve the organization's operations. So mission and purpose related statement needs to be there in the internal audit charter. Now, whether internal audit activities are actually conforming with the mandatory elements of IPPF, that statement needs to be there in the internal audit charter. Now, the authority. We know that Chief Audit Executive has two types of reporting relationship. One is functional and another one is administrative. So this reporting relationship related statement needs to be there in the charter. Also, internal audit activity has the sufficient authority and it is already established, maintained and assured by the board. That statement needs to be there in the internal audit charter. And how the sufficient authority of internal audit activity is established by the board? By this way. That is, by approving the internal audit charter, by approving the risk-based internal audit plan, by approving the internal audit budget and resource plan. Then they're receiving timely communication from the Chief Audit Executive on performance relative to the internal audit plan. Then approving any decision regarding the appointment, dismissal or remuneration of Chief Audit Executive, and also inquiring about any sort of scope or resource limitations. So if in exam any question comes that in which document the appointment or removal or the remuneration of Chief Audit Executive is discussed, then the answer should be internal audit charter. Now, independence and objectivity related statement needs to be there in the internal audit charter. As we know, independent is basically free from any conditions where the internal audit activity can carry out their activities in an unbiased manner. So that independence related statement needs to be there. And also, internal audit have no direct operation responsibility or authority. That statement needs to be mentioned in the internal audit charter. Also, if Chief Audit Executive have any roles or responsibilities outside of this internal audit activity, the safeguard needs to be in place to limit the impairment to independence and objectivity, and that sort of a statement needs to be there in the internal audit charter. And CA needs to confirm at least annually the independence of the internal audit activity to the board. That statement needs to be in the charter. Now, the scope of audit activities. The scope of audit activities related statement, that is what type of activities are performed by the internal audit department, that is assurance or consulting engagement. The statement needs to be there in the charter relating to this, and whether CA report to whom, that is he report periodically to senior management and the board. That sort of statement needs to be in the internal audit charter. The CA has many type of responsibilities. The statement relating to the responsibility needs to be there in the internal audit charter. So what are the generic responsibility of CA? That is submitting at least annually a risk-based audit plan, then communicating with the senior management board about any resource limitations or scope restrictions, or then ensuring the internal audit activity has access to appropriate resource with regard to competency and skill, ensuring the adherence with the IA standards, communicating the results, and following up with the corrective actions, coordinating with other assurance provider. So these are the responsibilities of Chief Audit Executive, and this responsibility related statement we need to incorporate in the internal audit charter. And lastly, quality assurance and improvement program. As you know that internal audit activity has to maintain quality assurance improvement program as per the IAS standards. See, this quality assurance has two aspects. One is internal assessment, and another is external assessment. And this external assessment need to be performed at least every once every 5 years. So there is a separate topic on the quality assurance program. We will discuss about that, but this statement relating to quality assurance improvement program needs to be in the internal audit charter. So today's video is all about this. Hopefully it will help in your exam preparation. Thanks for watching.